It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So it's been a while since I've got anything off Banggood, and today's video is I guess a look at a few items that I bought from Banggood. I haven't actually had anything sent to me from them for a while. I think that's pretty much fallen off. Wasn't really getting many conversions, but that's okay. But with the woodworking adventures that you've been seeing on this workbench, I decided to make a few purchases with my own money. So everything that I talk about today is 100% my opinion, and none of it is, paid for, sponsored by Banggood or any of the companies that make this stuff here. But I was thinking about a number of tools that I was interested in that I thought might make my life a little bit easier to do some of the things that I do, and I bought them. So they all came in one big lot, and I thought I'd just have a quick look at them all together, and I'll have some affiliate links below if you want to go check them out and any of their other things. They do have sales time to time. I bought these on a bit of a sale, so all of this came out to be about $110 US plus $4 shipping, something like that. It was a really good sale, so that's why I bought them. Otherwise I probably would not have bothered. So let's just go from the top. So here is a draw knife, a draw shave knife, Rui tool. So as you can see, it's still taped. The box has been pretty badly crushed. The bag it came in had no protection. It was just all of these boxes inside a plastic bag. That was it. A little bit disappointing. Hopefully nothing's been too damaged. Now, I'm not expecting terribly much from this because it's just a draw knife. So if you don't know what a draw knife is, it looks like this, and oh, it's curved. I was not expecting it to be a curved draw knife. I was expecting it to be a flat draw knife. Not that it really matters. But so what it is it's like a big spoke shave. So I just go get my spoke shave. So this is my number 151. There's my Stanley 151 spoke shave. And what it is basically a blade that allows you to make flat cuts, but also curved cuts. The 151 and I guess the 51, the 54, and a number of other spoke shaves in this series have a body with a mouth, so you can actually control how deep you cut. So with this, adjusting the knobs allows you to move the blade in and out to take fine shavings or thick shavings within the limit of the actual mouth here. With a spoke shave, with a draw knife, sorry, or as they call it, a draw shave knife, there is no mouth. So you can take as thin or as large, deep cuts as you like. And of course, it allows you to turn square stock into round stock. Now, one thing that I read on the reviews is that these handles are really small, and I don't have massive hands, but I can kind of see what they're talking about. If we just have a look at, my hand, my palm size is only about 10, 11 centimeters, and these handles are like 5 centimeters deep. So if I was to put them in my hands, you can see they do sort of stick out. As somebody said, you can just undo these and you can create a longer, thinner, narrower handle or something that shapes it better so you can get better grip. And so I think that's actually pretty good of an idea, something that I might do. So, rough stock. Let's just grab, that's a really dangerous looking piece of wood right there. Yeah, real dangerous right there. And then let's just give it a quick clamp down. Now, as you saw, I literally just took this out of the box. It hasn't been sharpened by me, but it feels pretty sharp. So you can do probably, maybe, it's kind of scraping more than it's cutting right now, but yeah, there we go. So you can take quite fine shavings just by controlling how the angle and the pressure is, or you can take out really big pieces just like that. So I guess the reason why I was interested in that didn't sound good. I think I need a heavier workbench. The reason why I thought I would get one is because it allows me to do handles better. So if you've seen my tool bench before, I didn't do a video on this, but this lump hammer that I've got, this little sledge, I don't know, sledge, lump, whatever you want to call it, this handle I made. So it's out of pallet wood that's been glued together, and then I shaped it. But I shaped it using this spoke shave, and it was, honestly, it took a little bit of time to get the curves. Now for fine refinement, you can't beat this. But to rough it out, something like this would make it way faster. So I do have some other tools in, you know, random places and things like that. For example, here is a sort of a brick hammer that came from my parents that I want to fix up, and that's going to need a replacement handle. And so things like that, having the spoke shave would really make things faster, because I can shape out big, deep cuts like that. And I can reduce this stock very quickly into something that might actually be a handle very quickly. So I think that's actually pretty cool. I wasn't expecting it to be slightly curved, but you know what, at the end of the day, that's okay. And I do concur, the handle, it's okay, but I think it's probably a bit, the ball shape is probably not quite right for me. I do want to have it sitting a bit deeper in the palm here, so something that's a little bit longer gets me to have a more comfortable grip if I'm working with it a long time. So that's actually pretty good. Can't remember how much I paid. Wasn't very much compared to if I bought one locally. So I'm going to say this is a, straight off the bat, a 7 out of 10. Excellent. Oh, handle's already, look at that, it's starting to wobble. So that might need tightening or shimming up or something anyway as it is. Right. So, draw shaved knife, solid purchase, has made a big difference already with shaping that very quickly. So let's put that aside. Next item. All right, so this one, I believe this one should be a marking knife. So just to explain what I'm talking about, this is my current marking knife. I made this out of one side of a pair of scissors that my mother broke the handle off. Just cut a bit of wood there, hollowed it out to fit the actual rest of the handle, and then glued it and clamped it down. You can see it's at a bit of an angle. The scissor blade is slightly curved. It's not very thick, and it's also not very flat. Like, it's been doing the job, but it would be nice to have something better, nicer. So, part of the sale, I think this was $6, something like that. I thought, why not? Give it a try. And there you go. Wow, that is huge. I thought for some reason it was going to be a little bit smaller and a little bit more refined, a little bit more pencil-esque, narrower definitely in the handle, but that is actually really funny. So it's really big. The fact that they've tried to put a blade cover on it, but they don't have one to suit, is even funnier, because they've put a kitchen knife tip cover on it. But ooh, that's sharp. Like dodgy paper. I'll find an edge that I can actually grip that hasn't been destroyed, but like it's it's cut sharp, which is great, and that's exactly what you want. It's got a decent point on it, so if I just take this and I put a little mark into there, that works really well. If I want to make a mark line, it's got a flattened back. I can see it's been flattened. There's sort of polishing marks there, so it's obviously been flattened with something, and that runs a really nice thin clean line into the timber. Of course, if I want to go the other way, on the other edge, yeah, does the trick. Definitely a bit bigger than I expected it to be, but that's okay. I guess it just gives more lifespan to when I sharpen those edges down before it wears away. I feel like the metal is probably really short. The balance on this is really front heavy, so there's not a lot of mass happening in the back there. As a matter of fact, they've just drilled a circular hole and the tang goes in probably maybe like a centimeter or something. It's really hard to see. Let's see if that will show up how deep it goes. Oh no, not really, can't really tell. Anyway, $6 seems to do the job. Makes good indents, has a precise point that is sharp. Give it another 7 out of 10. Hard to beat for the price at $6. Even better that they've actually tried to give you a little bit of protector. I don't know why I'm trying to put it away. I should just leave it out because I'm going to use it very regularly. Okay, on to the next item. All right. Okay, I know what this is, and I'm going to clear a little bit of space for this to work with it. I mean, I know what all of them are, because obviously I bought them, but... So, what I've got here is a dowel plate. Yeah, so this is a metric dowel making plate. This one runs from 16 mil all the way down to a 4 mil. How accurate is that? I don't know. My calipers are inside, but if I just put the edge of that in it, yeah, it looks to be 16. And ooh, is that really 4 mil? It looks to be smaller than 4 mil. Maybe? No, it's just on 4 mil. Shadow's playing a trick on me. All right, so dowels. Dowels are thin. Well, they're not thin. Dowels are round rod stock, designed for a variety of different uses, for holding furniture together, for plugging holes, for covering screw holes. You can use dowels for all sorts of things. Dowels are often manufactured as fluted dowels. So what I mean by that is they have ridges cut into them. I had some in a packet somewhere. Here we go. So for example, here are some furniture dowels, and they are fluted. So you'll see that they have these ridges in them because that's how they're manufactured, and they're great for glue application and other things like that. However, if you want straight dowels, and you want them in different sizes, because when they come from a shop, they're typically 10 mil, 8 mil, you know, bigger sizes, maybe 12 mil to fit standard thicknesses of boards. And it's a lot harder to get in between sizes if you're chasing specific applications. So if you're doing custom work with different thicknesses, standard sizes may not work for you. And so a dowel plate lets you make them. How this works is this top edge is machined really flat, so it has a cutting edge that scrapes the stock when you punch it through. And then the bottom is slightly bigger, so the stock will fall out and not keep getting scraped and warped. What you're meant to do is start off with a bit of stock that is a certain size, and you will just punch it down. So what I'm going to do is, let's try this dowel plate. Okay, so we're going to have some, let's do it like this. Okay. And then we will clamp, because we're not going to go as small as 4 or as large as 16 with this. This particular bit, if we work our way around it, is around maybe, is that 12 mil will probably be a good, well, 10 mil maybe, 12 mil. All right, well, we might need to just, you should really cut a box or something like that that's going to support this better. But what I'm going to do is, I need to split that. So that is probably not the best way to do it, but there you go, chopped. All right, so 12 mil is pretty close. 13 mil is probably better. So we're going to get the 13 and we're going to tap it through the 13, and it's just taking the edges off it. So now we're going to go to the 12. And you'll see how it's scraping the edges of my 12. And now I've got some rounded edges roughly at 12. So I probably should switch over to one of my hammers here, so it's not going to actually damage the plate when I hit it, like that. And you just work your way down. So now this is rounded off close to 11 mil. Obviously you want to try and keep it as straight as possible, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. So what they do recommend is actually you taper one side of it so it feeds a bit better. So let's just do that. I should probably just get out a pencil sharpener and sharpen it, but this will have to do. Okay, so there we go, it fits in the 10. Now it's getting closer to being a dowel. Let's go down to 9. So there you go, it's getting close to a 9 mil dowel. This 8 mil is probably still a bit, just going to pass it through a couple of times to clean it up. There you go. So what you obviously are noticing is the fact that I probably need to make sure that if I'm making some, that I start off with enough length that at the end of it, where I'm tapering it, it'll still leave me with enough actual material at the final size that I'm interested in. So, you know, if you pencil sharpen this to an actual decent taper, then it'll let you get down to a particular size. My clamp. And there is a 8 mil dowel. It's so rough looking. So if I just prop that against there and get it up to the top, just check if it is actually 8mm or not. It is 5, 6, 7, 8. It genuinely is 8mm in diameter. It just looks really rough, but I mean, this is pallet timber, by the way. This chunk came off pallet timber, so it's probably a softwood more so than anything else, and the grain in it is probably not fantastic quality. But now I have an 8mm dowel, and so you just keep working your way down, and of course you can clean it up, you can sand and everything else. Now, why do I want a dowel plate? Why indeed do I want a dowel plate? Well, the reason why I want a dowel plate is because nail holes. So see, this is a piece of pallet timber that I've cleaned up, and I've actually done a project here, which is a stool. It's a bath stool, and it's full of nail holes. What I've done here is I've actually filled it with wood glue that becomes waterproof once cured. But it was a real pain in the backside to have to fill all of these with glue. So my thought was, if I get a dowel plate, I could drill out one of these holes with an 8mm, a 5mm, or whatever it's an appropriate size for this, and then I can plug it with dowels. So here is what I am talking about. So what's that size? That's a 5mm, and then that should be the 8mm. Is that right? What does that say? No, that says 7. Very helpful. I hate getting out drill bits. The sharpness of them always bother me. Okay, so there's an 8mm, and well, the shank is probably, yeah, I don't know why that hole is bigger than the 8mm. I mean, the drill bit's bigger than an 8mm. Interesting. But let's just put that in. Let's drill a hole. And then let's take my dowel. Look at that. Now, how do I put some glue on that? That would have been glued in. And then I can cut that off after the glue dries. And now I won't have a horrible nail hole, and I will have it plugged up. So any of these offcuts that I've got from working with the scraps, for the plywood that has, sorry, the pallet wood, I can use it to patch itself, and the wood, I mean, the grain's not going to match, but it's going to be consistent. And that way I won't be using so much glue, and I won't have as many small bits that are going to be tossed away if I can reuse them to make plugs and things of that nature. So, dowel plate, is it worth it? I think for the purposes of what I'm doing, it is. The quality, I mean, look, it does the job. It just doesn't seem to be super good in terms of the cut and the scrape, but it might just be because I'm working with really cheap, horrible, not good quality timber. But other than that, it's a good tight fit. Like, it's snug, you know. So there you go, dowel plate, tick of approval. Very happy with that. I think the price was relatively comparable to buying it from like eBay and stuff like that with it on sale. So I wasn't too fussed because I was getting the other stuff and I could get it shipped in at the same time. Okay, so that is a good addition. It does have screw holes, as you can see on the ends here. So a lot of people will actually make like a mount or a box because it's got a lip here, and then they'll screw it in, and then that they can just clamp it to the bench or through, you know, the vise and stuff like that, and they can punch stock through it. Right, good stuff. You can go into the toolbox with other bits. You can go back. You can go back. Whoop. Okay, and last but not least is the big box. Now this one is not terribly exciting from a woodworking or even a keyboard's perspective, but it's a very handy tool to have. The reason why I say that is because when you're like me and you scrounge stuff to use, or you buy vintage things, or you buy random pickups and stuff that gets given to you by others. You know, I've got bits and pieces from my sister-in-law's husband. I don't know, is he just my brother-in-law? Probably. You quite often don't know any technical information about it, and you struggle to find what things are. So here is my Carter 71 router plane. I haven't restored it yet because it's got some stuck bits and pieces on it. And when I went to try and find out what the thread of some of these things were, because they were missing parts, it was really hard for me to figure it out because I didn't know what they were. So I had to go to the hardware store. I went to Bunnings and they had a thread checker mounted in the store, and it was really cool because I was able to use it to match to get this brass screw and nut that allowed me to actually attach this bit on the end because it wasn't there. I was also able to have a look at this particular one because this collar is actually stuck on it. I can't get it off. I haven't been able to soak it in like WD-40 to get that to release it, and I just thought, you know, maybe I can buy a replacement all thread to put it on. And then of course I wanted to know what the thread size was, and there's not a lot of information about it. So when I went to Bunnings and I used their one there, it was really great. I thought, how cool would it be if I had my own so I wouldn't have to keep going to the hardware store to use theirs. And here we go. So there's a lot of these out there. There's different varieties of them. This one's a little bit more expensive because firstly it's imperial and metric, and it also has the greatest number of them. So this one I think is 30 something, 38 in total, whereas some of them are much smaller and have much less threads. So there's the metric and imperial on both sides for the large and small, and this one has an actual nut or thread cut into it. So you can see it's got a front plate that's aluminium by the looks of it, that's anodized, and the back plate that feels like it's steel because it's quite heavy. And then they've actually threaded the bolt into that cut hole so that you can test both nuts and bolts. So this has screw holes so you can mount it to something. For me, I'll probably just bung it in the toolbox, but of course you want to make sure that it doesn't get damaged because I don't really have anywhere to hang it up, but it's useful to have. So this at Bunnings was, I believe, a 1/4 inch fine. So 1/4 inch coarse, 1/4 inch fine. So in theory, that should screw in neatly there, and it does, which is really great. So yeah, I can basically check old tools, I can check random tools, I can check just odds and bits and pieces and scraps. Like, I've got nuts and bolts all over the place. And so having this lets me actually figure out what size it is. You know, they just end up getting jumbled. I went to a deceased estate the other day and they just had a whole box of random nuts and bolts and screws and nails. And I was like, I don't want them at the moment because I know that I'm just going to end up hoarding them. But now with this, I could actually buy something like that and I could sort them. And then it would actually be more useful than just a random collection of, I don't know what this is. So that's a really great little addition to the toolbox. So I still need to go and get the all thread for that, but I can definitely confirm any of the sizes. Now I know that some of the Stanley tools have unique threads that Stanley made themselves just so that their competitors couldn't knock off their stuff. I have a Dawn vise here and I wasn't able to figure out what it was, but I measured it to be a 12 mil, I think. So this is where, once again, this comes in really handy because I can actually figure out what this is. And I don't want this full length assembly and this retaining plate, because if I can just get a 12 mil bolt, I can fully replace this and it gives me a bit more flexibility. So there is an M12. We've got extra fine, fine, coarse, and I think it's a coarse. So is that going to, look at that. It's an M12 coarse by the feel of it, which is good. And of course, it's coarse. Let me just punch this out. Hopefully that didn't damage it with the drop. I'll be able to also check both sides of this. It might not be an M12 course. It could be a 1/2 inch because this is vintage. It is not an M12 course. Whoa, and there you go. This has just paid for itself. This is, or at least on one side of it, 1/2 inch course, not an M12. 1/2 inch and M12 is very similar, but 1/2 inch is 12 point something, because 1 inch is 25.4. So what's that? 12.7 mil. Which, yeah, had I gone to the hardware store and bought some M12 course for the actual vise, for the base, it would not have worked. But now, look at that. So what's really interesting is obviously the nut portion, this wing nut portion, worked on the 12 because this is actually smaller than the hole here. That's also why it started feeling like it was not quite right when I started a couple of turns in, whereas now, yeah, that's a little bit smoother. I don't want to force that, but it definitely does fit on that. So 1/2 inch course, 1/2 inch 13 is what that will spin up on. So if you're like me and you like messing around with old bits and loose bits and pieces of things, getting a set like this will be really, really helpful. And then of course I can see that that's the depth that goes into the vise, that's the thickness for the actual plate there. So for me, I need to have something that is at least 1.5 inches probably, or maybe 2 inches would be a good length to suit what I want to do to replace it, to go through this particular plate. And then that way I can clamp this to the bench and then the vise will sit on top of that. So yeah, there you go. There is a nut and bolt thread checker. really, really happy with how that's turned out. And the quality, it feels really solid. It's got a lot of weight to it. Seems to be absolutely solid. Okay, so that is my haul from Banggood. Got that. I've got the marking knife, which I've already lost. There it is. Have to get used to seeing that now instead of looking for this when I think about my marking knife. I've got the draw shave, and then of course the dowel plate as well. So I'll put links, affiliate links in below if you want to check them out, if you think they're going to be useful for you doing either your woodworking stuff or any other bits and pieces of work that you do around the shed. Any purchases you make, of course, will go and help me out as well, so I can get more stuff to check them out and use them in my workshop. But otherwise, yeah, just have a browse and see if there's anything else that tickles your fancy. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for coming along and checking out this video. And of course, as always, until next time, happy clacking.